Welcome, yoga friends. Milo and I decided to do a special class for the pectoral muscles. You can put your hands right on your upper chest and just image that space inside of you. We have the pec major and the pec minor, which is underneath the pec major. And what you want to know about these muscles is they're often tight for two reasons. First of all, if you sit too much, we tend to slouch. And the second reason can be because of the stress response. The pectoral muscles are part of that response when we have a lot of adrenaline and cortisol, which are the stress hormones going through our body. They bring us into that protective mode of closing off those muscles. So there's a number of reasons that these muscles can be tight, but we're going to do some mix of a little bit of yoga stretching, some somatic movement, and end in a myofascial release position. So you will need to have a blanket, two balls that match. So I've got two pink balls. But I'm going to show you here. You might want something smaller, but get two that are the same. Wool dryer balls are great too. You'll also want a strap. And finally, two blocks. So grab your goodies. We'll start in a seated position. So please make yourself comfortable, which means bringing in a chair if there's any fight in the lower half of your body, because when we're working with things like stress response, your nervous system first wants to feel safe and comfortable. So we'll start in the seated position and just take your hands and fan your fingers over your collarbones and just feel the space of your upper chest. And you can imagine your pectoral muscles. We'll just call them the pecs. And I'm going to ask you to purposely breathe in and out of your mouth. Even if you're a wonderful yogi nose breather, breathing in and out of your mouth, and just noticing what that feels like in your chest. Are you feeling a rise and fall in your chest? Are you feeling your hands move? And then see if you can let your mouth softly close, maybe even touch the tongue to the roof of the mouth, and begin to breathe through the nose, but can you still get that movement through the chest? So we invite ourselves into the pectoral muscles with just our breath. And you might be able to expand a little bit deeper on the inhalation, more volume, more fullness. And use the bony landmarks of your collarbones, even touch them with your fingers on the front, your shoulder blades on the back. And fill this space in your body. A few deep, easy breaths with a complete letting go on the exhalation. Take 3 more rounds of breath. Can you feel movement, or does it feel tight? Because when we have tightness from a stress response in these muscles, it will restrict our breathing. And if at any time you don't feel right, go back to your natural breath. And drop your hands down. So we've located ourselves through our breath. So remember this area. We're going to let the arms just hang. And as you breathe in, externally rotate your arm bones just a little, but they're hanging. And draw your shoulders back, or think of bringing your collarbones forward. Let your collarbones smile as you inhale. So you'll feel a slight stretch across the pectoral muscles. And then as we exhale, just turn your upper arm bones inward a little bit and squeeze the fronts of the shoulders towards your collarbones, or collapse your collarbones. So we inhale, collarbones open and smile. Exhale, squeeze or compress the collarbones. So on the breath in, we're creating spaciousness. There's the levity of the pectoral muscles. And on the breath out, we're purposely compressing them. So even if they're tight, we're taking them tighter than they normally are, because it's still movement. And take a few more of these, adding those arm rolls. Roll your arms away from you and towards you. But recognize it's not just the arms moving. You're moving your upper chest. Breathe into your chest as we were before, and let the lightness of the breath lift your chest. See where your head wants to go to. And exhale. So still just landing in this space. Last one. And then we're going to take the strap. Take the strap so that your hands are facing down and your wrists are about as wide as your outer shoulders. Got some nice space there. Reach out with the hands, but plug the upper arm bones in, like you can feel your arm bones almost going into your shoulder blades. Keep that. And now as you breathe in, start to lift up as far as you can go without bending the elbows. And breathe out and just come down. So breathing in, you might feel your shoulder blades lift and your collarbones. Sense yourself through those bony landmarks. Breathe out and come down. So once you find your range of lift, think as you're breathing in, let your chest come forward. Get a little more stretch through the front body. And then breathe out and let it go. So now we're just going through that expansion on the inhalation. Long through the front body. Exhale, let it go. And I'm just pulling on the strap just a little bit, so that's going to keep the muscles engaged in the arm instead of being loosey-goosey with the elbows. Go as far back as you can and back down. Let's do one more. Inhale up. Take a few breaths here. And then just do a little bit of a side to side. Just play. You can go side to side and even make a little bit of a circle. I think as your hands go back behind you, you might feel more stretch in the pectoral muscles. And you're lightly pulling on that strap, creating resistance. Feel yourself through your upper chest and upper back. You can go the opposite direction with the circles. It's very small. And it's not my head I'm moving from. Think of moving from that chest wall where you're breathing. Your rib cage. Take that down. You can set your strap aside. My assistant here. Next thing we're going to do is we'll take the arms behind us. And if you can clasp, go ahead and take your hands into a little basket here. If the basket's not available, you can continue to use the strap and hold it with both hands. Otherwise, we're making that basket and then start to stretch your hands down towards the ground. Feel the stretch through the front of the pectoral muscles. Take a few breaths there. So more spacious in the front. And then slowly start to slide both hands towards the right hip. See how far you can go without forcing it. So your left arm will be on the lower back. And then play with hugging the right elbow in towards your back. Just like you've got a chicken wing there. Squeeze that chicken wing in and let it go. And just notice what you feel in the front of the shoulders. So this is also a really important area because we have what we call our brachial plexus, which is a like super highway for all of our nerves that go down our arm. And just notice that stretching right in that area in the right. And then take it to where it's comfortable for you. You can press a lower left arm into your low back, hug your right elbow in, and start to drop your left ear to your left shoulder. So we'll get the neck involved just a little bit, dropping ear to shoulder. And you might gently nod yes or no. As you're dropping the left ear to the left shoulder, keep drawing that right shoulder downward and the right elbow in towards your back and spine. Might even think of taking your right elbow back behind you. So you're creating space through the front of the right pectoral region. And breathe. Breathe into your sweet spot. As you bring your head forward, you might notice the stretch more in the back of the neck. If you take the head back, you'll feel it more in the front of the throat. But sense that line all the way from the throat down through the pectoral region. And bring your head back to the center. Slowly lift your head up. Release the arms. And just be for just a moment before we do the second side. Take the hands behind you again. Clasp your fingers into the basket. Draw your shoulders back. I think of pressing my fingers towards the ground, but widening the upper arm bones away from one another. Breathe into the chest. Is it comfortable? Are you still stable in your breathing? And then slowly start to slide both hands towards your left hip. As far as you can go comfortably, you might create a little bit of resistance, pushing the right arm into the low back. And then think of that left chicken wing and squeezing it towards your back and releasing a few times. Squeeze the left elbow in and release. If you find your left shoulder lifting up towards your ear, try to soften the armpit and the top of the shoulder down so we're not shortening the neck up here. Squeeze and release. So you can find your place where you want to finish and hold. And then start to dip your right ear to your right shoulder. And just play with dipping and lifting. As you dip the ear, drop the left shoulder. And notice that space around the front of the left shoulder now. The smile on the left side of your collarbone. You can go up and down. You can go back and forth like you're nodding yes. And sense the connection all the way from the pectoral muscles up through your neck. Head forward will take it into the back of the neck. Head back takes it more into the front of the neck. Finding your sweet spot. Direct your breath into the left front of the chest. Nice cooling, calming breath. Bring the head back to the center. Lift your head up. Release your arms. Just do some nice shoulder rolls. Roll them around a little bit. Circles, you can go both directions. And then relax. We're going to be coming down onto our backs. I'm going to move some of this aside. And make yourself space to lay back in a way that feels most comfortable to you. You won't need any props for this part, just you and your body, but you're welcome to put a blanket or something on top of your mat. So we'll come down with the knees bent and the feet on the ground in whatever position is most comfortable. So if you want to let your knees fall together or apart, that's up to you. But let your back body land. Feel your shoulder blades from the floor. As you breathe out, let the shoulder blades be heavy. Feel the space at the top of the shoulder blades. And notice, so one of the ways we know if we've got some of that tightness in the pectoral muscles is when we come down onto the floor, the shoulders will be lifted and the head will be back here. So if that's the case, you may want to pull in your blanket and put it underneath your head. Just one little blanket, not a big pillow, but a little blanket, just so that your neck is in a neutral position. Again, if you're tight and you're being held in your pectoral muscles, it'll look like this when you come down. Your shoulders, the backs of the shoulders won't be grounded. So put that blanket under the head, and then you can focus on just letting the outer arm bones and the shoulder blades fall each time you breathe out. Take 3 more rounds of breath, just to feel the weight of your bones, particularly the shoulder blades and the pelvis. Let the low back relax. Land as you breathe out. Can you still breathe into your chest? Always the option to fan your fingers across your collarbones again. And then we're going to take our hands. We're going to make a basket behind the back of the head. And if your elbows aren't touching the ground, that's okay. Don't force them. But as you breathe in, think of pressing the elbows into the ground, and you'll notice maybe your rib cage will rise a little bit. And as you breathe out, just hug the elbows towards your ears. So inhale, pressing the backs of the arms and the elbows in the ground, and let your chest and spine respond by arching away from the floor. You might even press your tailbone down a little bit. So feel your back arching at the top of the inhale. And then as you squeeze the arms, you could also curl your tail up a little bit. Feel your back and spine press into the ground. Inhaling into the spinal arch. Exhaling into the curl. So once again, what we're doing is, if you think of your pectoral muscles like your hand, we want them to go through their full range of motion. Even if they're tight, we're going to take them even tighter. So that looks like this. Inhale, stretch around the collarbone, stretch the pectoral muscles. Exhale, squeeze the pectoral muscles. Maybe you even lift your head up. If we're lifting our head, here's one of my suggestions, is not to let the chin come towards the chest. If you're lifting your head, keep your gaze straight up above your nose. More work for the pectoral muscles. Turn them on as you exhale. Inhale, turn them off or let them stretch. Exhale, squeeze. So if in any way this feels uncomfortable for the neck, just do it with the head on the ground. But feel, just like your fist, feel those pectoral muscles going through their range of motion. The tension that we put on them as we inhale, we stretch them out. And the exhale, the squeeze or the compression. One more time, inhale. And then next time, exhale and arch. And feel that squeezing in the pectoral muscles. And we're going to slowly release them. So think of letting your head come down a little at a time on each exhale. Then your arms fall. And your arms can fall all the way out, even letting your hands go. And let go. We'll do that one more time. It's like we call bracing. You're going to purposely squeeze your pectoral muscles and then slowly release them. So hands behind the head. Inhale, press into the ground, arch the back. Take your gaze right up towards the sky so the front of the throat is still open and long. Exhale, squeeze up as tight as you can. And then keep that. You have to bring your breath into your chest. As you're breathing, slowly release a little at a time on each exhale. Maybe drop just a half an inch. So feel that release of the pectoral muscles until the head comes down, the weight of the head's relaxed, the arms, and let it go. Take your arms, and we'll just do a little bit of a movement now. Take your hands into that basket position and just make some circles over your head. You can plug your arm bones in down towards the ground. Going both directions. The higher you go overhead, the more you'll stretch, or the further you go to one side. If you want even more stretch, you can take the palms together. So doing this without bending the elbows. Just making these circles. Feel your shoulder blades take a little dance on the ground. And let that go. So that last movement we did was more from the somatics, and this will be too. We're going to roll onto our left side. And here again, you might want the blanket underneath your left side of your head. And if the blanket's there, just make sure there's a little bit coming behind the base of the skull to support you. You can take your left arm forward. So instead of resting on the outer arm area down here, you're resting on the shoulder blade a little bit. Just let your weight land in your left side. Place your right hand on the pectoral region of your right side. And send your breath into that area again. And notice how the breath in creates that volume, that expansion. And we're going to use that to move ourselves into a space of stretching the right pectoral region. So start with the hand just there. Knees can be stacked together like an L shape. And now as you inhale, start to roll your right shoulder blade towards the ground and exhale. Come back. So the key here is I'm not using my arm. My arm can rest on my side. I'm thinking of moving from the pectoral region, breathing into the right side of the chest. And then coming back as I exhale, even a little squeeze on the exhale. Inhale, breathe into the chest, stretch a little bit. And then once we know we're creating the movement from the upper torso, you can place your right hand to the back of the skull. As you exhale, drop the elbow down to the ground, squeeze. Inhale, still moving from that pectoral region, roll open. You'll probably feel a lot more stretch now in the pectoral region. Exhale, rolling back. So if the hand's too much, go back to just the hand resting here. Otherwise, hand underneath you, underneath your head. Rolling open on the inhale and closing up on the exhale. And everything started with the breath, and it's still there for you. So when we're working with these muscles, if they're tight for emotional reasons, particularly, your nervous system likes to know that your breath is available and even leading the movement. There's a sense of safety in that. Because when we do have that stress response, one of the first things to be affected, to be limited, is our breath. Feel free to take a few more. Opening up, and maybe even want to spend a few breaths here with the stretch. Your hand can stay behind your head. Or if you want to drop your arm out, you're welcome to. My usual rule is if your right shoulder blade's not on the ground, then just take your hand and place it on your ribs or keep it behind the head. Anywhere where you can create a shape of stretchiness in the top right collarbone area, but also the space of comfort and support from the ground, including that right arm. Let the breath out, release your right shoulder blade, the weight of the arm. Last breath. Roll back onto your left side. And we'll be switching sides. So I'm going to turn this way. You're welcome to just come onto your right side body. Bring your head support with you. Take your right arm forward. Let your knees stack, legs be comfortable. You can shift your hips around. Even rock. Rocking is a very soothing movement for the nervous system. Find the safety and stability from the ground for your right side now. And place your left hand right around the collarbones, that pectoral region. And see if it's available to you to breathe to. Can you breathe underneath your left hand? I even like to imagine you're breathing to your armpit, underneath the shoulder blade, your upper left ribs. And the next time you take a breath in, feel your left shoulder blade and just roll it towards the ground behind you. And breathe out and come back. You might sense that one side is tighter or looser. Inhale, rolling into a rotation, feeling just that beginning stages of stretching through the left upper chest, and exhale. Release that and roll back. If you're feeling that, your arms relax, so we're not moving from the arm, then you can place the hand behind the base of the skull. Exhale, take the elbow down, squeeze the pectoral muscles. Inhale, open up and stretch, working even the elbow to the floor behind you. Exhale, close. Think of your arm like a clamshell. Your pearl is that left pectoral region, and you're opening it up, showing the pearl as you breathe in, closing it back up for safety as you breathe out. So it's sort of, we let our nervous system have its way a little bit. We let ourselves close up and feel that safety and security of the front body protected, and then opening up, creating space. Checking in with your breath. At any time, you can stop and find a hold. So if left shoulder blade's on the ground, you could keep the arm in that position, or even extend your arm long, or just take your left hand maybe to your rib cage so the elbow's on the ground. Anywhere you don't feel strain right in the front of the left shoulder. And so the posture creates a container for you to breathe into your upper left chest. Direct your breath into that space. Slowly breathe out, roll back onto your right side. You can pause there for a moment. So we're coming towards our end, where we're going to do a little bit of a release in the myofascial fashion. So I'm going to show you the setup before you have your head down. Take a blanket towards the front of the mat. You're going to want your 2 blocks and 2 balls. So I've got some, they're about the size of tennis balls, but they're softer. They're nice rubber. If your balls are super hard, you could also put cloths over them, like dishcloths or face cloths. But you're going to set them somewhere on the corners of the blocks towards you. Okay. And then just feel around. So notice where your collarbones are. We're not going to go into the collarbones. We're going to go just below. So feel it first with your fingers. Collarbones, everything below. What's available? Where can you feel the tissue? You might feel your sternum there too, but feel that tissue to either side of the bones. So the sternum in the middle, collarbones above, and find that. So if you put a little bit of pressure in with your fingers even, you might find some sensitivity. So that's the key. When we do this, we want our nervous system to relax. So if you have what we call a trigger point or a very sensitive space, you don't have to be right on it. You can go near it without triggering it. That's why I don't like trigger point. Let's just say a space that really wants your attention, go next to it. So we're going to come down, and you're going to put those balls somewhere in that space that you were just massaging. And then you'll find your head might not come right down to the ground, so you can take your blanket and put your forehead on the block. But you got to adjust this right where you need it. And to start, you might want to just take your arms somewhere to your sides. And the first thing we do is see if you can just receive the balls. So you're not bracing into them or resisting them in any way. Can you just fall? You might even slightly rock side to side or back and forth. Think of taking your shoulder blades left and right and up and down. And see if it's where you want it. At any time you can change it even just slightly. Find that sweet spot without being right on the sensitive spot. We'll be here for a few minutes. So in that time, you may choose to be completely still and quiet. Or if you want to play with different sensations, there's the idea of steering from your shoulder blades or your collarbones, those bony landmarks. Just a little bit of movement one way or the other. You could also take your head up if you want more compression. So I'm feeling it a lot more with my head up here. The other thing you can do with your head down is make small swimming motions with your arms. Not needing to lift your arms necessarily, but just sliding them. Notice what you feel around those pectoral muscles. Swim free. Low back and legs relaxed. If not, you can shake out your hips so you can focus on your upper chest. Another option here is just to land and locate yourself again in your breath. Maybe even going back to that mouth breath for a moment. And the mouth breath will direct the breath back into your upper chest. And see if you can breathe through your nose, but still direct the breath into the upper chest, like you're breathing to those balls. And I'm going to leave you here to explore these beautiful muscles in silence with your breath, your arms, and your kind thoughts. Anytime you want, you can make slight adjustments, moving the balls a little bit up or down, more out to the sides. I have my hands at my sides now with the palms up. But if you do move, just checking to see you're not protecting yourself. So can the fronts of the shoulders and arms be relaxed towards the ground? The weight of the arms heavy. The back of the neck can be long. And there's still space and availability to breathe into the chest. If you notice yourself tightening your arms or you're gripping it all with your hands, let go. And one of the surprises might be, and I just caught myself doing this, is sometimes it's not the hands and arms we're gripping with, it's the muscles in the back line of the body. So checking to see your gluteal muscles and your buttocks and your hamstrings are relaxed. You can shift your hips or even let your legs go side to side like windshield wipers. That will actually create sensation in the balls as well, moving your lower body. We'll be here for about 1 more minute. I invite you to back off a little bit if it's too much, and you'll know because your breath will be restricted or you'll be holding yourself away from the balls, or maybe play with one more position. Might even be a little more sensational. Can you feel your shoulder blades rise up on the breath in as the pectoral muscles meet the resistance of the balls? And just letting the pectoral muscles receive the balls. And breathe out. Everything drops. The weight of the shoulder blades, the arms, the collarbones, the weight of the head. If your arms are down to your sides or overhead or anywhere, slide them back and lift your head just enough to slide those props away from you. And then we're going to take the arms out in front of us and come onto your fingertips. So you've got claws. Claw the ground, but plug the arm bones into the shoulder blades. So you're a little active with the arms for a moment. Stretch it out. You can have your chin or your forehead to the ground if you want. And then keep clawing and slowly pull your elbows back, but resist that. I'm going to make some squeaky noises on the floor. Pull your elbows back. So this is like a little counter pose, but resist with your fingers, pulling back, all the way back. And then with your head resting wherever you want it, and your shoulders, palms facing up. Completely rest. Let the fronts of the shoulders and the collarbones find the ground. You're welcome to do a small relaxation shavasana on your front side. If you prefer to come to your back side or in a fetal curl, you can do that as well. I like to finish this practice with a front side shavasana, taking opposite hand to elbow, we sometimes call crocodile pose, and just resting your forehead on the top arm. So you have just that little lift of spaciousness in the collarbones, in the pectoral muscles. So energetically, we consider this space part of the heart area. And you can breathe in and around your heart. And this idea of when we need protection, we close off the heart. You might even think of an image or a word that you want to breathe into your heart. Begin to focus on your breath out, though, and just letting the body land and feel the support of the ground. Let your nervous system know that you're comfortable and supported, while also being awake and alert. And if you want to stay here longer, you're welcome to, whatever position you chose for yourself. And taking your time coming back up. Thanks for joining me. Recognize the space in your body, and that though it may be part of the stress response, it also doesn't like when we hunch ourselves. It is a space that's available to us at any time to heal and release just through our breath and through these mindfulness practices. Peace, joy, love, and light.